Hey folks, I got a lot of requests about a guide to Vermintide, so I got a leading member of the community to help me out with that. However, Lunathex, you're the one talking today because I am not going to dignify an elf with my presence. No, actually.
Well, it's fine because I play elf all the time.
Hate you.
Now, the the one-handed sword, it got buffed. It really needed it, except I still am not a fan because I don't like the combo here. So you swing twice and then you stab, but if you block, it's kind of easy to accidentally push because there's a cooldown on blocking and all that. And also, after you push, it goes to that second swipe to the right and then to a stab. It's a really cumbersome weapon when you're coming off the sword and dagger, and all of Kerillian's weapons each have their own demand for a certain level of finesse. And this one is not one I agree with.
It's worth noting that that Kerillian as a whole, alongside Saltspire, is the team's main striker. So, you know, the part of the problem that the one-handed sword has is that it is much like the problem that Kruger's crowd control weapons have. They might be okay at striking, but they're competing against the best striking weapons in the game.
At least it got a damage buff, and at least you can move faster with it. It benefits, obviously, from Killing Blow, Regrowth, and if you get a speed perk, that'd be pretty good, too. Berserking is most at home on this one.
Yeah.
Ah, the Glaive. There's a lot to say about it. It's been pretty much nerfed down. It's still good. You know, if you can get a hold of it, it's okay. However, it only does 16 damage on its, the downward charge attack is what matters here. That's the one that instant kills Storm Vermin on Nightmare. It does 16 damage now, so you're not going to do that on Kata unless you hit them in that nebulous gray area that counts as a head. Yeah,
the glaive as a whole is one of the weirder weapons in the game, simply because all of its different strikes have sometimes wildly different damage numbers. So you can find yourself wanting a specific thing, but not being able to use it. So when you hear that it's hard to use, that's what it's meaning.
It's a conservative level of playstyle that does not fit this character really.
It makes sense in terms of making her a single target striker as opposed to her usual multi-target striker, the same way that Saltspire's one-handed axe makes him a single target striker.
It hits 2 targets, one for 6 and the second for 4.
Right. Yeah.
I really think for the nerfs it got, it should be able to hit 3. And when we talked about the charge attack killing Storm Vermin in one hit, that's great and all. But landing it is a completely different matter entirely, as you would see. Yep. Very easy to get hit on another rat. The damage window starts and ends at times you may not be prepared for. And if you proc your speed perk in the middle of that could also throw you off.
Yep, it's just.
And don't forget, you only have 2 stamina shields without perfect balance. I'm using the red right now, which does.
I think the Glaive is fine just because it's incredibly finicky and annoying, and that is exactly what Kerillian is.
That's what every elf is to you.
And I'm not wrong.
I mean, some people would dispute it, but I guess that their argument would fall flat at some point. The dual swords are still weird to me. I'm not a fan, specifically because the heavy attack... Now here's the funny thing. The heavy attacks only hit 2 targets, and they're going up against the sword and dagger, which is heavy attack, hits 3 targets, and is quite superior in every way to the role these are ostensibly playing as crowd control, because they have infinite chain swings of hitting 4 targets each. Headshots are, non-existent in my experience using this. I'm not a fan.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people say that the damage window for the dual swords is just really strange. Like it almost appears that the swords strike a little bit lower than they render on the screen.
It could be FOV. There are FOV related bugs in this game.
Yeah, that is another thing that I've heard about it. It's just. It's a very strange weapon that is not bad again per se, but it's competing against the best striking weapons in the game, so it struggles to make a niche for itself.
I still think it needs a job, and also I think it should hit 4 targets for the heavy attack, because 2 is... What's the point of the heavy attack on this one if it's just going to hit 2, but the light attacks are hitting 4 and are a lot faster to pull off? And to be fair, here's the other thing about the light attacks is, you know, getting those hits in with the damage window being... Like, the damage window is when the actual damage can be applied in the swing, you know what I mean? From the Spurgin technical point of view.
Yeah, I can definitely see it only hitting 2 targets, and that making sense precisely because the dual swords can do a substantial amount of damage. But even then, it struggles to hit the break points that high damage weapons need to be able to hit to be truly useful.
I guess they wanted more headshots for this thing because it has a multiplier on, like all of Kerillian's weapons have that. The most important buff it got, though, aside from its speed, was getting an extra stamina shield. Because it only had 2 originally, and that's like, what? Why use this ever, then? Because the Sword and Dagger always had 3.
Right.
The dual daggers. Biggest change of Kerillian's weapons. They are now an infinite swinging chain, left and right, or right and left, as it is, but you get the idea. Has better headshot multipliers than most of the weapons. And look, the big selling point about these, only 1 stamina instead of a whole shield is used for pushing. So you stick Devastating Blow on this, and you can basically dance around Storm Vermin all you want, because you can interrupt their overhead swing with that.
Yeah, this is really what a single target striker Kerillian ends up using. All of the strikes that she has here only hit one target, but
she's doing it so fast, and this is Killing Blow, really good weapon choice for this weapon, surprisingly.
Killing Blow helps a ton. Backstabber is also amazing on this weapon, and it has great access to it. You can get all sorts of
this is with Swift Slaying
cool
also having procced.
Yep. Good night, Roger. Sorry about that. But yeah, it's high damage, good headshot,
good dodging.
Multiplier, good dodging, and
all of Kerillian's weapons have great dodging, and it's what you need to be doing, especially if you're going to go with this backstab thing. It really requires a lot of team coordination to actually get in that position, and you know, I always try to get around enemies no matter what, but you know, it's such a niche perk, you know? We're going to do a perk overview eventually, but yeah, it's nice to have no matter what. And you really got to think outside the box when you're using the daggers.
Good night, Roger.
Again. This is a good example of using backstab, but I mean, they're going to turn to face me anyway. I'm not really getting much backstab in here.
It's much easier to hit backstabs when you're working with somebody who has a devastating blow shield, just because they push, everybody goes down, and pretty much everything on a fallen rat counts as a backstab.
You just run around. Yeah, you always want to be moving. Yeah, the animation is weird about where the hitbox actually goes, yeah. I mean, I've hit rats in the front sometimes, and it counted as a backstab.
It particularly helps with Kerillian there because she comes in from above. I'm pretty sure that is properly modeled with the damage box.
Aside from that, I think the words that best describe Sword and Dagger is poetry in combat.
Yeah, most elves that I see in the game end up using the Sword and Dagger, and I can't blame them. Like, having used them once and only once, because it is against my religion to use the elf. They work together very well. Unlike a lot of her other weapons, you always seem to have exactly the attack that you want ready. It's just here's great.
If this weapon gets some kind of massive nerf that somehow makes it unusable, then Kerillian as a whole will never be played again. This is by far her most useful weapon.
You heard the man, Fat Shark. Nerf this stuff.
Yeah, sure. I'm basically, when I'm in control of the Sword and Dagger, what's going through my head is, you know, I'm basically the character in all of the awesome trailers ever released for anything. There's such a level of control, stability, finesse, and I don't know if they were trying to go for this, because it's always been like this. And here's the thing. because the dagger and the dual swords got buffed, but like the power attacks did more damage, that applies to the sword and dagger too. So on Nightmare, one-shot clan rats with the heavy hits with the first charge attack, and if you get the head angles just right, you're killing multiple rats, and it's so good. Just going all over and watching limbs fly.
And again, you know, under normal circumstances in the game itself, you can reasonably expect that the rats won't be moving around quite as much as they do in these videos, because you will have a controller helping you as opposed to just jumping around solo.
Also, I mean, it goes without saying that, you know, the bots are dead, just to prove a point that Kerillian is the most effective at disregarding the strength of the team by design.
Yeah,
I don't think that should be changed. Well, she's an elf. She's designed to kill.
I say for a very long time she was inarguably the strongest character in the game, precisely because she had a wonderful striking weapon and decent ways to avoid damage.